So amidst all the Season 5 content for Warzone and Vanguard, we're still getting teasers for Modern Warfare 2 going forward and looking ahead for Call of Duty Next in a few weeks, with a beta to follow the day after, and of course then the launch of the game just over 2 months away at this point. Today we got another intel drop, and on the surface it may not look to provide a lot to the discussion because it's not about map design, the creator class, or anything like that on the surface you may consider when thinking about the gameplay loop for Modern Warfare 2, but it did provide us with some insight into a key portion of the Modern Warfare 2 gameplay experience that we'll see in all aspects. Modern Warfare 2's multiplayer, campaign, and Spec Ops, as well as DMZ modes that'll then carry over into the fundamentals of Warzone 2. So today, we're breaking all this down, so as we go along, drop your thoughts down below. Are you liking these intel drops? Personally, I'm a big fan. I quite enjoy the looks behind the curtain on how the game is made, mainly because I'm kind of fascinated with it, but also I think that it offers a nice level of clarity and transparency into the entire development process. But as well, are you looking forward to Modern Warfare 2's multiplayer, story, campaign, or DMZ the most? Love to hear your thoughts, but which got you most intrigued? Drop your thoughts below. If you enjoyed the video, you find it at all insightful, do me a favor and drop a like on it. And if you're new to the channel, make sure that the subscribe button is set to with all things Modern Warfare 2, gearing up for Call of Duty Next, the multiplayer reveal, the beta, and the launch of the game. We'll keep you up to date and covered with absolutely everything you need to know, so if you're interested, I'd love to have you in the community. And final notes, if you're picking up the new Season 5 Battle Pass or any of the cosmetics within Warzone or Vanguard and you'd like to help support the channel a little further, using creator code Espresso in the in-game shop is a great yet entirely optional way to do so. Seriously, don't ever feel pressured to, but if you do, tweet me a picture. I'd love to shout out some of your generous support in upcoming videos like these legends on screen. And lastly, if you'd like to join us in our community that we're building over on Twitch, we're getting back into the swing of things and are streaming almost daily over there, so if you guys would like to come hang out and chat, tell me how you've been, I'd love to have you. Link in the description below, but anyways, back to Modern Warfare 2. So as per normal with these intel drops, at 1:41 Eastern time, we got another video. This one, depending on the processing of the video and where you may be watching it, could have been exactly 1:41 in length as well, but the way that it shows up on Twitter, at least it's 1:40. So close to that double whammy of 141 if we can call them puns. But anyways, if you haven't seen it yet, check it out.
How we design sounds for Modern Warfare 2.
I'm Stephen Miller. I'm the audio director at Infinity Ward. We start with understanding the tone of the level. We work with design and make sure that we're supporting the overall vibe. The very first thing when we're planning a big field recording trip, we spend months planning the location. We'll do scouting trips to go check out what the area sounds like. For this project, we've recorded weapons of all kinds, small arms, RPG, tank cannon fire, 3 different helicopters, weapon reloads, explosions. Game sound design is one of the most difficult things because for a film or a TV show, it's a linear media. You know exactly what's going to happen, when it's going to happen. You can mix for every moment. A game, it's all interactive. You have no idea what the player is going to do. So we have to build all kinds of systems to try and make everything work, regardless of what the player does. We learn a lot while we're making a game. We always ask for new features, whether it's from the recording process, the creation process. We're always looking to evolve. We have a brand new occlusion engine, a brand new reverb engine.
Where are the controls?
We also have improved 3D directionality, which is really helpful if you're trying to, hunt people by footsteps and get the surprise on them as they come around a corner. Modern Warfare 2, to put it simply, is bigger, badder, and more dynamic than it's ever been.
So, like I said, not a whole ton that we can take away as groundbreaking information, but there's absolutely some key details here. For the first 40 seconds or so, there's not really much pertinent to what we would be experiencing. We saw gameplay clips of Darkwater, the campaign level shown off at Summer Games Fest. We saw B-roll of the recording process in real life, but when we get our first new looks of gameplay glimpses, the first 2 of which are in development looks, and to me are just kind of bonus gameplay look-ins. What we're going to discuss here in just a second is I think more so crucial to the fundamental design of the game, rather than what the gameplay itself looks like. But the first in development look that we saw looks to be the base AK with the character standing in the map of Museum. Our first in-game look at that. We'd seen Farm 18, Grand Prix, and we know of the existence of Museum from leaks and such, but nothing in any sort of official media detailed this just yet. While we can't gather much from just this brief glimpse at it, this does look right on brand with what we've seen before and looks to be a nice in-game look with that white concrete building that has been seen in the concept images that leaked and makes for more naturally bright aesthetic. The lighting and such probably isn't the best representation, given that it seems to be a shadowed corner with a building casting that shadow, plus also the camera's not actually in-game, it's looking at the monitor, but definitely interested in hearing more about this. Apparently this map is another one that's rumored to be in the beta, as well as Farm 18, Grand Prix, and another, so if we're getting another map intel drop detailing upcoming maps, I'd kind of expect this one to be in the future as well. But after that, we see a brief in-development look at what looks to be some sort of water mechanics with a rib boat and the prompt to climb to the roof, so perhaps something behind the character or just a placement of a prompt that, because it's an in-development look, could be unrelated. That buoy and the rib boat does remind me of the Amsterdam level that we saw at our pre-briefing in June though, ahead of the reveal, and it's also featured in the reveal trailer. But beyond that, our next gameplay teasers come in the form of a few additional seconds of what appears to be more Farm 18 gameplay, walking around and through the map with that M4, offering a bit more of an understanding of how the map will flow, not necessarily in that interior play for the center kill house style of the map, but more so in the buildings on the outer edge of the map. But the reason that this was shown off at all was to illustrate the new audio engine in a practical sense, showcasing the new audio occlusion engine and design, which is where we can transition now to that discussion on audio and the hidden importance of what we learned out of this intel drop. This quote actually holds a lot of weight if it holds up, where it said that we have a brand new occlusion engine, brand new reverb engine, improved 3D directionality, which is really helpful if you're trying to hunt people down by footsteps to get the surprise on them as they come around the corner. That, if implemented as such, would be huge for Modern Warfare 2. Now, I'm kind of surprised it's the first time we're actually hearing about the audio engine. I can't speak for those that were actually in Los Angeles for the pre-briefing. What I saw in June ahead of the reveal of Modern Warfare 2 was just a recording of said presentation, so maybe in that Q&A part, it was something that was discussed, but I wasn't shown it. But Infinity Ward loves their audio work. I remember that Modern Warfare 2019's briefing that we had back in May, I want to say, the audio team presented gameplay on Piccadilly that broke down every layer of audio, stripping everything to hear the individual bits that all went together to make the real-time audio that you'd hear in game. The sound of the reload, the sound of each round firing, the sound of the round casings hitting the ground and the subtle pings they'd leave. The difference between firing indoors versus out, how in the cafe or shoe store in Piccadilly would make a difference in that reverberated tone of the audio than if you were firing in the underground tunnel where the sound would be bouncing off ceramic tiling. It was fascinating and a great look at the audio design in Modern Warfare 2018, which fundamentally I still think is phenomenal. But from a programming sense, there could have been so much more that could have been adjusted, and since then has been attempted to be adjusted for a while. Warzone being a prime target with that. The occlusion being a big part of that issue for them, and for them to state that we have a new audio occlusion engine is huge. Then add in the 3D directionality improvements as well, that's great to hear. That makes for such a great potential and improvement to the gameplay audio. For those unaware, occlusion is how the audio will travel through, over, and around objects, how the in-game audio will interact with players based on the barriers that stand between the object making the sound and the player. So for our sake, let's discuss footsteps. Footsteps will obviously sound different in a myriad of different scenarios. In front of you, let's just take that. It can sound different if the player is walking, crouch walking, running, or if there's tack sprint, if they're doing that. That's already 4 potential variables just for footstep audios that impact how the audio will sound. Then add in the surface. Is the surface wet, metallic, concrete, grass, dirt? Is it wooden? Again, all variables that produce different sounds, and now combine all of that with the imprint of how the player is moving. That's their character potentially having, forgive my potential math skill ignorance here, it's been 6 to 7 years since I've taken a math course, and math is the furthest thing from my mind on a daily basis. That's 24 different scenarios for movement right out of the gate, and that's just movement for footsteps, totally clean to the environment. Then add in any barriers between you and the player, both thinking about what type of barrier, where it is, if it's on the same level as you, if it's above or below, multiple different stories. It adds up so quick, but occlusion is always hard to nail. Darkwater did a cool transition to partially illustrate this, where Shadow Company, that operative on the comms, was heard over the comms channel, but then as you walked through the doorway, it was heard plain as day because he was out there in the open. That's kind of an exaggerated version of it to showcase, and in a gameplay sense, might not be something you notice as much as, say, footsteps. But to be able to set up an accurate audio system that can give players the ability to hear footsteps accurately, determining the verticality of said player, if they're 1 story above or below or 5, it'd be nice to have that after 3 years of seemingly trying to get that in place where it should be. One of the biggest things, especially in Verdansk with Warzone, and it's still an issue in Caldera and Rebirth and Fortune's Keep to a degree, but it was very exaggerated on things like Skyscraper and Downtown. If you were at the bottom of the staircase climbing up to the top of the skyscraper, you really couldn't tell if there was a player just on the next entry shelf above you, or if they were quite literally 10 stories above you, because that occlusion just wasn't set in stone with how it should have been. That's something that this new engine hopefully could be able to knock out. So that said, this intel drop didn't really give us a whole ton in terms of the gameplay design, in terms of maps, create a class, weapon, or anything like that. But honestly, it's something that I think may be fundamentally just as important. You just might not think about it as much. So wanted to detail that briefly for you and let you know what we may have on the horizon here, and maybe detail it a little further at COD Next or potentially before. But that's where we're gonna wrap it up. So I'd love to get your thoughts and feedback down there in the comment section down below. Are you hoping for this improved audio engine as such within Modern Warfare 2? Do not necessarily care as much. Whatever the case, drop your thoughts below. But if you enjoyed the video, you found it at all insightful, do me a favor and drop a like on the video. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Modern Warfare 2. We've got so much upcoming that you won't want to miss. That said, thanks so much for watching. On Espresso, I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.